You know you should let them go. You've known for weeks, maybe longer. And still, your thumb hovers over their name. Still, some part of you is waiting for a message, for a reason, for them to finally become the person they are on their good days. Here's what's strange. If we slid you into a brain scanner right now and showed you their face, the regions that would light up are not the regions for love. They're the regions for craving. The same ones that fire in someone withdrawing from cocaine. You're not heartbroken. Not exactly. You're in withdrawal. By the end of this, you'll know why the person who's worst for you is the hardest one to leave, and why that is not a flaw in you. So before we explain, let's take a look at us. Humans. A quirky look at the most fascinating creatures on Earth. Watch what the human does after it loses someone it can't quit. It doesn't grieve quietly and move on. It checks. It rereads old messages. It builds a case for leaving, dismantles it, then builds it again by mourning. And it feels the loss in the body, a tightness in the chest, a drop in the stomach. That part is not a figure of speech. When researchers scanned people looking at a photo of an ex who just left them, the brain lit up the same regions it uses for physical pain, the same circuitry as a burn or a broken bone. Your body isn't being dramatic. As far as the wiring is concerned, you've been injured. And here's the part that makes no sense at all. Often, the human can't even say it was happy. The relationship made it anxious, insecure. Awake at 3 a.m. Again. And still, it wants. Those are two different systems in the brain. One does the liking, the warm, settled pleasure of a good thing you already have. The other does the wanting, the lean, hungry pull toward a thing you haven't got yet. And they can come apart. You can crave something you don't even enjoy. So that's the puzzle. Why would a brain keep wanting a person it didn't even like being with? To answer that, we have to go back, long before dating, long before language. To the oldest machinery you own. Deep in the middle of the brain sits a small cluster of cells called the VTA. It runs on dopamine, and we spent most of a century getting dopamine wrong. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, it's the seeking chemical. It doesn't reward you for getting the thing. It pushes you to chase it. And here's the detail that breaks the whole thing open. The dopamine system does not fire hardest for a reliable reward. It fires hardest for an unpredictable one. A treat you get every single time gets boring. The brain stops bothering to spike. But a treat that comes, maybe, sometimes yes, sometimes nothing, no way to tell which, that one lights the system up like a flare. We built an entire industry on this one fact. It's called a slot machine. Pull the lever, win sometimes, lose mostly, never know which. A reward delivered on that schedule, psychologists call it variable ratio, is the most stubbornly addictive pattern known to behavior science, the single hardest of all to stop. Now think about the partner who makes you feel alive, the one who's wonderful on Tuesday and cold on Thursday. Warm, then distant. All in, then gone quiet. You didn't fall for a person, you fell for a schedule. The good days were never the problem. The unpredictability was the hook. A partner who loved you steadily, plainly, every day, would not light that system up half as bright. The one who keeps you guessing. Jackpot. To the oldest part of your brain. But here's the thing. A slot machine you can walk away from. People do it every day. So why can't you walk away from a person? For that, there's a second system, and it was built for something far older than love. Long before humans, mammals had a problem. Their young were born helpless. A parent who wandered off, a pair who didn't stay together, their offspring died. So evolution did something clever. It made staying feel good and leaving feel like an emergency. It built a bond. And the bond runs on two more chemicals, oxytocin and vasopressin. We can watch this in the lab with almost unfair precision. There's a small rodent, the prairie vole, that mates for life. Block those two chemicals, and the bond simply never forms. It drifts to the next vole and forgets the last. Flood a different loner species with them, and it suddenly starts pairing up. Two molecules. The whole difference between a fling and a life. you run the same system. When you bond to someone, oxytocin and vasopressin quietly file them under a single heading. Keep, mine, survival. And that tells you exactly what happens when they leave. To the bonding brain, losing a mate is not sadness. It's danger. The same ancient alarm that once meant you'd been cut off from your tribe, alone, in a world full of things that could eat you. Now put both systems in the same skull. One is tuned to chase whatever is unpredictable. The other treats the loss of a bonded mate as a threat to your life, and the cruel arithmetic falls out on its own. The partner who's unpredictable lights up the seeking system the brightest. The partner you've bonded to sounds the loudest separation alarm. So the person who is both thrilling and unreliable, the one who makes you feel most alive and most insecure at the same time, is the single hardest human on earth for you to leave. It isn't that you have bad taste. The two oldest systems you own are both screaming to hold on to exactly the person you're trying to release. And there's a final twist that keeps the whole thing spinning. A century ago, a psychologist noticed that people remember unfinished tasks far better than finished ones. The mind cannot stand an open loop. A relationship that ended cleanly with a reason can close. One that ended in confusion, mixed signals, no real answer, stays open. And the brain keeps it on the desk, lit, demanding the closure it never got. That's why you replay it at 3 a.m. You're not weak. You're trying to finish a sentence they left hanging. So let's go back to you. Thumb over their name. Still waiting. Only now you know what's actually in the room with you. A seeking system that evolved to never give up on an uncertain reward. Because for 2 million years, the ones who quit too early starved, and the ones who kept trying ate. A bonding system that treats a lost mate as a threat to survival, because the ones who bonded hardest kept their partners and their children alive through winters that killed everyone else. And a mind that can't rest on an open question, because to an ancestor, an unsolved problem was a danger not yet handled. None of those are flaws. Every one of them kept someone alive long enough to eventually make you. You weren't being weak at 3 a.m. You were running 3 of the most successful survival programs evolution ever wrote. All firing at full strength, all aimed at one person who happens to be the wrong one. The pull you feel is not a measure of how right they are for you, Hasio. It's a measure of how well your wiring works. The grief is the bond doing its job. The craving is the seeking system doing its job. The replaying is your mind refusing to leave a loop open. Letting go was never going to feel easy. You're not closing an app, you're standing down an alarm 2 million years in the making, by hand, against its will. That you can do that at all is the remarkable part. So be patient with the human you're trying to talk down. It isn't foolish, it's loyal and hungry and built to hold on. And it is slowly, deliberately, learning to set down something it was designed to keep. That's harder than it looks. Give it time. Next time, why you rehearse arguments in the shower with people who aren't even there, winning fights that never happened, against opponents who'll never hear a word of it. If any of this felt like being seen, subscribe. There's a whole catalogue of you in here, humans. There's nothing quite like us.